Pluto is just moving into Aquarius now. 2 years' time, Neptune and Saturn will conjunct each other. 2.5 years' time, at the very, very start, 0 degrees of Aries. 2.5 years' time, 3 years' time, Uranus will move into 0 degrees of Gemini. All of the big planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, are changing sign within a year or two of each other. This has never happened before in history, ever. Or if it has happened, it's been at times when Uranus, Neptune, Pluto were not discovered, so their effects were not conscious. We didn't know about them. There's never been a time like this before, and it's going to result in a shift at a level that's never happened in our history. And this is not a shift in terms of political, economic, financial, militaristic. It is not about money or power or control or economics. It is about consciousness, 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 consciousness.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces. These bombs are now in production, and even more powerful forms are in development. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. The force from which the sun draws its power has been loosed against those who brought war to the Far East.
Exploding these nuclear weapons ended up basically acting as beacons to a number of ET races in our general area. The primary energy pulse that occurs in one of these explosions sends an energy that feeds back through the fabric of space-time. All stars, all planets are connected through electromagnetic filaments. Scientists call these connections the cosmic web. It looks like a giant spider web all throughout the cosmos. When a nuclear explosion occurs, it sends a feedback through this cosmic web. This is a problem because these extraterrestrials not only communicate through this cosmic web, but they actually travel through it from star to star. Therefore, when we detonated these devices, we sent out a signal saying not only are we at a certain level of advancement, but we're not at a certain level of advancement spiritually.
What Oppenheimer and Teller, all the people who worked on the Manhattan Project, didn't know. There's an electromagnetic pulse that goes out, everybody's heard of, knocks out your electronics, electric grid. But there's also this scalar. Now, scalar pulse is multiples of the speed of light, and it is in this entangled aspect of quantum physics, and it disrupts extraterrestrial travel and communications. So that got everyone's attention out there, these other star systems. And that's why every single nuclear bomb squadron, processing facility, ICBM site, et cetera, and so on, here, UK, France, Soviet Union, Russia, have had some sort of UFO surveillance because they're so concerned about those. Not only for us destroying this planet, but the risks they pose. So I think that's one of their concerns. There's a certain amount of interest in protecting life on Earth, but there's also enlightened self-interest.
Oppenheimer's key quotes revealed that he did not know what the effect of the detonation of the nuclear bomb would be. When they conducted the Trinity test, they were unaware as to whether or not this explosion would create a chain reaction that could actually destroy the whole Earth. And yet they proceeded forward because they believed that this weapon was the only way they could end World War II, and thus the ends justified the means.
With how potent and how powerful these technologies can be, we can never expect to be able to handle them if we operate them from a low consciousness. When you raise your individual consciousness, when you actually make the effort to become more aware of an individual that has a mirrored effect to society. It's the law of correspondence, as above, so below. So when you become more conscious of an individual, that makes society itself raise in consciousness. And when each one of us, every single one of us, begins making ourselves more aware, society itself is going to become more aware.
Multiple insiders with credible military and corporate backgrounds have said that extraterrestrial spacecraft have appeared over nuclear missile installations and have completely powered them down.
First, I'd like to briefly describe the incident that I experienced in March 1967. At that time, I was a first lieutenant, U.S. Air Force, stationed at Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana. I was trained and assigned duties as a missile launch officer for the Minuteman I intercontinental ballistic missile. We had operational control over 10 Minuteman nuclear missiles. On the evening of March 24, 1967, while my commander was on a scheduled rest break, I received the first of two phone calls. The first call was to report unidentified lighted objects flying above the facility.
Well, they were hovering above the nuclear silos, and what was happening was they didn't attack the nuclear silos. All they did was shut down. Like Captain Robert Salas had like 8 nuclear-tipped ICBMs. They all got shut down in rapid succession. These systems have triple redundancy backup systems. So, and the guards up topside were with their weapons drawn with a glowing red saucer above the silo. And then the UFO then went 60 miles to the other base and shut down their nuclear missiles as well. This has happened more than once. This happened in Brentwaters in the UK as well.
What most people haven't heard came to me from two insiders, Bob Dean and Pete Peterson, where both of them independently told me that in the year 1990, all of the nuclear warheads in the US and in the USSR completely melted down, became radioactively inert, and even the missiles themselves would just sputter around and wouldn't even fly a straight trajectory anymore. Right during this same time that all of these nuclear missiles were literally melted down inside the warhead, we also have this amazing formation appear on a dry lake bed in Oregon.
The Idaho National Guard has a huge mystery on its hands, and that is our top story today. During routine photo reconnaissance missions over Oregon, RF-4 jets spotted and took photographs of a huge carving in the desert over 1,000 feet across.
Point to point is exactly 11.5 degrees. Exactly. And the outer ones, they're exactly 23 degrees apart. Exactly.
No variation.
No variation.
And there's something else puzzling here, something that you do not see. You do not see tire tracks, the kind of tracks that might be made by a tractor or a plow. No tire tracks and no footprints. In Oregon, I'm Walden Kirsch for NBC News.
The reality is that this is the same type of thing that's being done with crop circle formations, but on an even more impressive scale. And that mark was a symbolic statement from the ETs. The mandala, remember, is supposed to be a symbol of the cosmic mind, a symbol of the creator, the origin of the universe, the geometric nature of how everything unfolds. So they're giving us a message. They're showing us that they will make sure that we stay on track for this positive future that's been promised to us in over 35 different ancient cultures around the world.
I think that tax-paying citizens are quite capable of accepting the new and broader reality that we live in a cosmos teeming with life of various sorts. I wouldn't say I was a skeptic. I wasn't. I was an agnostic. I didn't know whether they were real or whether they weren't. But there was a young man in Ottawa whose name was Pierre Junot. And he started sending me things about the UFO file. One of the things he sent me one day was a book called The Day After Roswell, and I found it absolutely fascinating. While I was reading the book, my nephew said, "What are you reading?" I told him what it was, and he said, "Well, I'm a skeptic." A couple of days later, he phoned and said, "I was talking to the general." The general, incidentally, was a former United States Air Force general that he had met in his aviation career. And I told him what you were reading, and he said, "Every word of it is true and more." I phoned the general. Before I could even say hello and how are you, he said, "Every word is true and more." And he said that there had, in fact, been face-to-face meetings between United States officials and extraterrestrials from other star systems. And with that assurance, I decided to go public and say, for the first time, of anyone of cabinet rank from the G8 group of countries, that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying over your head, and said it without any restriction whatsoever. There had been lots of visits to Earth, probably going back thousands of years, but the level of activity took on a new dimension after the first atomic bomb was set off in New Mexico in 1945. And all of a sudden, the number of sightings increased. And my thesis is that because they know something we don't know, and that is every atomic bomb that is put off on Earth has an effect on other parts of the cosmos. They were concerned about it. And I used this idea that the children are playing with matches. They're afraid that we're going to blow up our planet so that it would be uninhabitable both for ourselves and for visits from them. And they didn't like that idea.
By the middle of 2026, it's a whole new paradigm, whole new ball game. And people who are still trying to make quick money and trying to have power over others and still trying to be controlling and greedy, they're going to be seen as dinosaurs. And they are dinosaurs already. They're just, most people haven't caught up with that yet. This is why astrology is the lingua franca of the emerging consciousness revolution. If astrology were taught in schools, we'd see an end to warfare and religion within a couple of generations, at the most. But we're seeing time's drawing in. It's like we're heading into this ever narrowing tunnel towards this nexus point, this nodal point of some type of transcendence and emergence into a new reality, a new consciousness. What we're going to see is that some people will make this jump, and they'll become kind of enlightened, and others won't. But the human experiment has matured. Humanity can no longer, the apprenticeship is coming to an end. And we're at that point in the next 3 years from an astrological perspective, and the crop circles coming to an end back it up for me, where we make that jump into a higher consciousness, or we don't. And if we don't, hey, then we'll go the same way as the dinosaurs. But I think we will, the majority of us anyway. And within the space of my lifetime, I expect to see a change like it's not only inconceivable, it's unimaginable, but it's good. Imagine if we all retained our identity and our individuality, but we all accelerated our ability for empathy and intimacy, where we knew what each other was feeling without words. Imagine the pain we'd be able to see if we could see what killing animals for fun or killing animals for food was causing them. Imagine the pain we would, if we knew what was happening when we see soldiers killing each other on war fronts. If we could feel that a lot more, we'd soon put an end to these barbaric practices. Change or die. That's what's coming. And as a species, I am so fortunate to have been able to educate people with astrology in this last few years. And I shall continue to do so until the day I die, physically die. I think that astrology is one of the last best hopes for humanity. And I may have to eat my words in 3 years' time, but I really don't think so. So, you know, get out there, mutate now, avoid the rush, evolve, accelerate, grow, laugh, dance. Go and visit the crop circles while they're still happening. Nil carborundum desperatum. You can translate that one yourself.